Have you ever wanted to play a Kamen Rider video game in America without the hassle of playing the Japanese imports on your console, and a good game on top of that? Well, today is your lucky day, because Kamen Rider Dragon Knight, the first good Kamen Rider adaptation in America, gets its own video game for the Wii. And it's actually pretty good. But the question is, how good is this game, especially when comparing it to the not-so-great Kamen Rider Ryuki game for the PlayStation? Well, coming from a longtime fan, you're about to find out in today's episode of Wii Reviews. But there's one thing I need to point out. This game doesn't have an intro.
Kamen Rider Dragon Knight!
Yeah, that's all it is. Anyway, like Ryuki, it's a 3D fighter but better in many ways, and I'll explain why. First off, the selection of riders is great. All you have is the 13 riders as well as Dragon Knight and Wing Knight Survive forms. The ones you have from the beginning are Dragon Knight, Wing Knight, Torque, Incisor, Camo, and Siren. The rest are unlockable. Thankfully, the playable Advent Beasts and Blank from Ryuki, aka Blank Knight, are not in this game because, well, they sucked in the Ryuki game. Although I wish Yubulon was a playable character, but sadly, he's not in this game. Just like how Alternative Zero wasn't in the Ryuki game either. Plus, you get to select the cards you want in your deck and what order you want them. More on that later, but right now, let's get on with the game. Like the Ryuki game, it's a more tactical fighting game that emphasizes on using the Advent cards instead of traditional button moves for special attacks. But the difference here is that you get to move much faster to dodge, block, and avoid attacks properly, as well as attacking a lot quicker. And even though both games are more tactical than technical, this game has much better combos. Unlike the Ryuki game where the fighting was sluggish and the combos were meh. And obviously you fight Zodiacs in the end instead of a random fighter. And along with these improvements, the final events in this game are better than ever. Not to mention they gave a really cool final event for Zodiacs. The controls are great as well. They're simple, but fun. Here's how they work. Okay, so when you're playing, you use the analog stick on the nunchuck to move and block, A to do a weak attack, B to do a strong attack, left and right on the D-pad to switch cards, C to use attack vent, and swing the Wii remote to use the Advent card. To dodge, just swing the nunchuck left and right or down and up. Finally, to do a final vent, do the same thing you normally do to use an Advent card, but this time, do it while you're next to your opponent. You can also use the classic controller if you're not used to playing with the Wiimote or the nunchuck, but the Wiimote and nunchuck are my preference for playing this game. However, at the same time, this game seems very familiar. If you guessed Kamen Rider Climax Heroes for the PlayStation 2, you are absolutely correct. The difference here is that they replaced all the Heisei riders except Ryukin and Ryuga, who were obviously renamed to Dragon Knight and Onyx, with the other 11 riders from Dragon Knight. The 3-colored energy bar is replaced with a 1-colored energy bar, and the charge meter is replaced with an Advent card meter. Although I wish there was an option to charge your Advent card meter. And obviously the controls are different since it's on the Wii. They also replaced Decade Mode with a Mirror World game mode. More on that later. What they kept, however, is all the music except the Climax Heroes theme song, and kept all the stages. They even went as far as keeping the bridge stage. You know, the one that has the Kamen Rider Kula theme playing. Now you might be thinking, if it's mostly like Climax Heroes, wouldn't that be a bad thing? Not really. First off, Climax Heroes for the PlayStation 2 is one of the best Kamen Rider games out there thanks to developer Aiding, who also worked on Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. And if you want to play the game without the hassle of emulators or playing imports with a mod chip or a swap disc, Kamen Rider Dragon Knight for the Wii is the best way to go. It's the closest you're gonna get to an American release of Climax Heroes. And obviously, this game was also developed by Aiding, so it's not like they copied or anything. Getting back to the advent cards, another challenge this game has is that unlike in the Ryuki game, you don't just use them right away. You have to fill up your meter with a certain amount of bars filled up. For example, use sewer vent with 1 bar, drink vent with 3 cards, and final vent with all bars. And another challenge added to the advent cards is that you only start off with a final vent card, and you can only unlock the other advent cards in a certain way. How do you get the others? Simple. You purchase them in card mode with rider points you earned from Mirror World, with each card ranging in different prices. But are they there right away? Nope. All of these cards are unlockable in Mirror World, which I'm going to talk about right now. So you begin Mirror World with a different story depending on which rider you use. And the thing I like about Mirror World is that each story is pretty close to the Earth Rider stories in the TV series. If you've seen the show, you'll know what I'm talking about once you pick up this game. And another thing I like about Mirror World is that it's very different, a little longer, and more challenging than arcade mode. First off, you not only fight riders and complete these stages in a certain way, you also get to fight Xaviax's monsters as well as Xaviax himself in the end. And the map, you can go wherever you want, but it's not easy. Sometimes when you're going a path to complete certain objectives ends, you gotta take a different path with more objectives to go the right way. Not only that, you also come across these battles called accidents, and unlike objectives, you don't have to beat these accidents, but they are worth rider points as well as advent cards depending on which rider you're fighting. However, there are some issues I have with Mirror World. While I do like how this mode has objectives to complete, these objectives can be a bit repetitive. It's like they didn't add that many missions and a mission could repeat with the same rider or a different rider. Speaking of repetitive, missions aren't the only thing. While I like how the monster battles are beat 'em up stages, all they have is the same 2 monsters attacking you over and over again. The Gel Newts and Ray Dragoons. Whatever happened to Zebra Skull, Buzz Stinger, D-Spider, and all the others from Ryuki and Dragon Knight? Did they not have enough time putting them there, or were they just lazy? I mean, come on! And why do I keep finding these monsters in the same area most of the time, no matter which objective I choose? And on top of that, these monster missions always have the same background music. It's annoying! Not only that, you have to fight these same monsters again before you fight Xaviax. When I kept fighting them, I was like, oh god, when is this gonna be over? So now that I've covered the good and bad about Mirror World, there are other things I like to point out, whether they are issues or just things that could be better. First of all, the graphics. Now, I did not expect this game to have the most cutting-edge graphics or amazing graphics, but as much as I like the game, graphics are not only below par with most Wii games, but GameCube games as well. They don't look bad, but they could be better. Second of all, while I like many of the voice actors they casted for the game, I really wish they got the real cast members of the show to do the voiceovers. I guess it would cost too much money for D3 and Bandai and aiding to get them, so I guess that's understandable. And while I love playing as most of the riders in the game, there are a few that I don't like. Incisor, Sting, Spear, and Thrust. Incisor, Spear, and Thrust have like 1 or 2 useful advent cards, and Sting is so slow using his swing vent. As for Torque, I like him, but I don't like him at the same time. While he has an awesome advent deck, he makes the game a little too easy because all you gotta do is stand far away in the corner and keep shooting. Trust me, you won't run out of ammo or anything. Also, I want to get back on the Climax Heroes subject. I like the idea that this game is based off Climax Heroes, but was it really necessary to just keep both the stages and the music the same way? Couldn't they just change or add new music and stages? I can understand keeping the stadium stage and everything else, but there was never a church in Dragon Knight. One last gripe I want to point out, and this has to do with the instruction manual rather than the game. I'm gonna go ahead and say that the instruction manual sucks. All you have is the warnings, table of contents, controls of both English and French, and that's it! D3, You're introducing Kamen Rider to American gamers and you give them a poorly made instruction manual without mentioning the other features in the game like other manuals do? What is wrong with you? So those are the bad points I mentioned in the game, but even with these flaws, it's still a fun fighter to play. It's best when you bring a friend over and play this game with that friend. Overall, this is a pretty good fighting game. Not one of the best fighters, but still good. I highly recommend Kamen Rider fans to buy this game, but if you're not a fan of the show or franchise, or you've never heard of it in the first place, and you're just watching this review, rent it first to see what you think. I give Kamen Rider Dragon Knight for the Wii a silver. Thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed my review, and if you did, be sure to check out other Wii reviews I did and Wii reviews I will do in the near future.